Flirties, we have a very exciting and special topic that I cannot wait to get into today, as we're going to be talking about the psychology of connection and loneliness with podcast host Jemma Sbeg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mhm.
I love being the guest on people's shows, especially when I know we like mesh well. So I'm really excited for this.
Yes, as we did an episode, perhaps unsurprisingly for your podcast, The Psychology of Your 20s, all about hold your breath, flirting. Yeah.
Surprise.
Surprise. Yes,
It was honestly such a great episode. Like I loved it. I was learning so much, which is what you want, right? You want to learn
absolutely.
from the people who you speak to. It was great.
It was such a good experience for me. And now I'm so happy that we're, yeah, continuing this collaboration now on Flirtations, talking about connection, loneliness. I've got some questions. The flirties really came through. Yeah, so we're going to get going right away. First things first, though, I'd love to have you share a little bit more about yourself and your work with the flirties.
Oh my gosh, of course. I love that you have a name for them as well.
I do. The flirt community is strong.
Okay, I need to do that because I'm like the psyches, like no, it sounds a bit weird. Like the psychos, like it's incredibly inappropriate.
Yes.
So it's like we got to get there.
You're on to something. You're on to
But
something, though. Mhm.
yeah, we'll keep testing it. We'll keep testing. So, yes, I'm the host of the Psychology of Your 20s. It's a podcast where we break down all of the transitions, topics,
Mm,
undergoings of our 20s, whether it's like you have a toxic job or you're not sure if the person you're dating is right for you, or you're trying to
yeah.
discover your dream job, manage anxiety, whatever it is, anything you can think of that you go through in your 20s. I love to find the evidence for what you're experiencing and find the psychological research. I feel like a lot of self-help and wellness content is
Hmm.
very much like, this is my opinion.
Hmm.
And actually, sometimes that doesn't always work. So
Yeah.
the main purpose of the psychology of your 20s is to be like, you're probably looking for answers, and we want you to be looking in the right spot and to find something that will, and is not proven, but is shown to work. So that's what
Yes.
I do. And then on top of a lot of other things, but the podcast is my baby.
Yes. And so, so good. Over 200 episodes. And I've learned so much. I mean, I am not in my 20s, but doesn't matter. I have still learned so, so much. I feel like if there's a question, if there is a topic, like you've talked about it and it's so well researched. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling the
Yeah.
love.
It's really, really good. And yeah, expert on the show, as we're going to be talking about connection and loneliness. I think I want, because this is like the connection, or I say the connection, I put the in front of things a lot as I say the flirt, but connection and the
Mm,
flirt is really my whole thing. It is my number one mission. And why I do what I do is I hope to empower people, just give them more clarity, confidence, and calm in making connections out there, flirting and dating, whether it's platonic connections, romantic connections. Of course, the connection you have with yourself is going to be paramount as well. And it seems like it should be straightforward, but you bring your past into it, and emotions and history and perhaps some wounds and some difficult experiences. And it all of a sudden gets very complicated. So I'm thrilled to be talking about connection. And then I think perhaps the inverse of that, loneliness, on the show
mm.
today. So I want to get your perspective first on what is connection, or how would you describe it?
I think connection is at its core one of the essential needs of
Mm,
any human being.
yeah.
If we are thinking about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, created by the psychologist Dr.
Hmm.
Maslow. I actually don't even know his first name. That's bad of me.
It's just doctor.
But it's just Dr. Maslow. Yeah. But he basically suggested that we have our basic needs, right? You
Mm,
really need food, water, you really need security,
hmm.
sleep, all of those basic things, oxygen. But then
Yep.
actually the need above all of that, that we need to thrive and that we need to reach a point of self-realization and self-actualization
Yeah.
is community and is connection. And for me, connection is being able to look at someone else and feel seen and feel
Mm,
recognized.
hmm.
And it's being able to feel comforted and being able to feel like you're at home and
Mm.
some part of you is fulfilled, right? So connection obviously comes in so many different forms. You have romantic connection,
Yeah.
family connection, friendship connection, connection with your colleagues. But in every single instance where we say, I'm feeling really connected to this person, I think it's because a part of us recognizes ourselves in them, and we can see
Mm.
that they're looking back at us and feeling the same way, and
Mm.
that there is a mutual respect and interest in getting to know each other and in respecting our personhood and in seeing each other as human beings who need love and who need community.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that explanation so much. I I see connection in much the same way where it's this
Mm,
experience, like it's there's this energy to it. There's this reciprocity to it. There's this element of
mm,
consideration and almost not quite validation, but just being seen. And it's like when you can connect on something, perhaps like a topic or an interest, a passion, it could be like on an energetic level, even where you just kind of are able to let your guard down and, in a sense, just be you or at least express a part of yourself. Like, I think that's so much about what connection means to me, where it's
mm,
like we go around life, I mean, just feeling so, I mean, for me, shy gay Libra, very much the introvert, none of
mm.
this is easy. And when I can create moments of connection, it's just like I can almost exhale, you know?
Exactly. And I love what you said about it's easy. It's like it brings a sense of calm. And I also think that connection is like psychologically nourishing and that it
Mm,
reduces how hard life is. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's imagine doing everything that you're doing now and doing it alone and not being able to talk to people about it, or
Hmm.
imagine trying to date someone and never feeling a spark or never feeling
Yeah.
like what would be the purpose of dating or flirting or doing anything if it didn't eventually lead to a close relationship that could hold you up and support you. It's really the foundation of like a lot of the things that we do, I feel like.
Yeah. I agree. I'm curious now, from your perspective, what are some of the psychological aspects of well-being that come from connection? Because science has told us it's
Mm.
actually really important to longevity and overall health. So I'd like to
Yeah.
hear why is connection so healthy?
For so many reasons. A lot of people will quote you this study that says
Mm,
that loneliness is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
yes, yes.
That's like the big one. I think I will putting my scientific hat on. It's not a great way of presenting that information because obviously
Yeah.
like loneliness and smoking affect our bodies in very different ways. But
Hmm.
what they're trying to get to is that not feeling connected or not having community is a health risk. It's a health
Mm,
risk because, firstly, when we think about the mental toll that it takes, every single problem, ailment, life stressor that comes your way, you're handling it basically by yourself. And
mm,
most of us know that a problem shared is a problem halved. So you're carrying the burden of the full problem if you
mm,
find yourself without that kind of community and safety net that is brought
yeah,
by strong, positive relationships.
yeah.
I also think that when you have people who love you and who
Mm,
care about you and who you're connected to, you also just want to be a healthier person as well. You want to stick around for longer.
mm,
You want to like be active. You want to hang out with them. You want to hear their laughter. And it's also the fact that friendship and connection and romance, whatever it is,
yeah.
brings a lot of joy, but it also brings a lot of stimulation. It keeps our minds incredibly
Mm,
active.
yeah.
It keeps the endorphins and the dopamine flowing. And a lot of people, we tend to see health as like it's what you're putting in your body and what's coming out.
Yeah.
And it's like, absolutely not. Like, it, being in a perpetual state of loneliness, I think really does lead to a shutdown in a lot of your systems, right?
Mm,
Starting in the brain, extending into the body, impacting you spiritually as well, emotionally, on every single level.
yeah.
So, the opposite of that is obviously to be flourishing.
Mm.
And sorry, I'm gonna go on for one more second here.
Yes,
I do
please.
want to, yeah, it's one
Uh-huh.
of my favorite things to talk about, but
Yeah.
I will also provide the caveat that um, this is like prolonged loneliness and
Hmm.
prolonged lack of connection. So I think all of us dip into periods of feeling quite solitary or
Hmm.
isolated.
Hmm.
That is also quite normal as a
Mm.
species to have like your tribe evolves along with where you are in
Yeah.
life. So don't be scared or feel like you're suddenly going to develop a chronic heart condition
Mm.
because you don't have a best friend. Like it's not stupid, or you don't have a partner yet, or
Yeah.
you might not want a partner in general. Like there is many other connections that uphold us that sometimes seem invisible.
Mm. I love that so much. I want to spend another few moments, a few questions here on connection. And this one came from a flirty who is single and has some connections, some friends, but the question was in relationships with family, but had the question was about, is there a hierarchy of connection, romantic versus platonic, you're dating, you're in that committed romantic relationship versus friends. Is connection, or are there levels to it? Are there maybe differences to the types of
Mhm.
connection we can experience?
I love this question. I maybe I'm like psychoanalyzing this a little bit, but I feel
Uh-huh.
like maybe this person is like, oh, so am I going to be less fulfilled because I have friends but I don't have a partner?
Mm-hmm.
And like, is this a numbers game? Like, is there a certain number of friends that I can have to create the same connection as a partner?
Yeah.
I will say this. I think the older we get, our priorities do shift. And so
Mm.
if you're looking at society, it does look like a romantic connection or connections are the most important because that is the typical pipeline. That's the typical
Yeah.
blueprint, right?
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
start off when you're in from like the ages of like 0 to 18, your family is perhaps the most important. They provide the safety net, they provide the nest. Then I would say the period of like 18 to like maybe 25, like your friends are pretty important. They are the
Hmm.
most important connection.
Hmm.
And then it's all about you better be finding the love of your life.
Yeah.
You better be dating. You better be like throwing everything into these relationships because they should be the one. And then when we get to like our 40s and maybe 50s, like society's like, well, now it's all about the kids and
Yeah.
it's all about the kids, right? So that's kind of what it looks like when we take like a societal lens or blueprint to it. And I have to say, I don't think that that's correct. I
Okay.
think that it's actually you can be nourished by any number of relationships. There is not one that takes the cake. And to quote another study to you
Hmm.
that provides a lot of not so much but evidence for this is that the happiest population in the world is actually single women over
Single.
the
Oh.
age of like 40.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of them sometimes don't even have kids. And they will say, and they did all these population studies and they were like, who comes out on top? Single women later
Yeah.
in life. Again and again and again, widowed or just have been single their entire lives. And why is that the case? It's because, and I think this is something that women, have been socialized to do really, really well is to
Hmm.
build community and to be very like overtly friendly and have big social tribes. Um, and so often these older women put a lot into their other friendships,
Mm.
into their
Hmm.
platonic friendships, into their relationships with siblings,
Yeah.
with work colleagues, with volunteering groups. So, no, I don't think that there is one relationship or one connection that comes out on top as the best. I think that additionally, you can't just rely on your partner to give you everything. That is the
Right.
easiest way
Yes.
to completely lose yourself, right? That's the rookie error. I think
Yeah.
everyone has done that at some point, and it is a rookie mistake.
Oh, for sure. I have. I know I have.
Yeah,
Where yeah,
really?
it's just you. Yeah, I've gone so just head first, headstrong into a connection, into a relationship, really coming from this place of just wanting to give it my all. I think it came from a
Hmm.
fairly noble place, perhaps, but in the process, really losing myself and forgetting how to just acknowledge what I actually need. And my
Mm,
life became centered around somebody else versus having that balance and focusing more on
mm,
compatibility, things like that. So
mm.
yeah, I've done it. I have.
Oh yeah, who hasn't?
We have.
Oh, because
Yeah, we all
love
have.
feels amazing.
It
You're
does.
like,
It
oh,
does.
I know.
This is so fascinating as when I'm doing my flirt search, there is
Mm,
overall this. trend around like decentering dating has been talked about. I featured that topic on Flirtations before, where it's, I think, reprioritizing connections and love and speaking to what you just said, and that there's no sort of one like pinnacle of type of connection, right? That one is somehow better than the other. One is more fulfilling than the other. It's they all have their advantages and they all have their places. Um,
Absolutely.
it's so fascinating. All right, I have a question now. This one also came with a flirty as we're talking about connection, um, digital connection. So
Yeah.
about like how you think or how maybe you've seen has digital communication and even the dating apps, um, texting, like it's these tools that are meant to design and bring so much connection into our lives have done that in many ways. That's how we met. That's how I'm able to meet a lot of the flirties and create my content, right? That, yeah, for both
Hmm.
of us. But these tools
Hmm.
meant and designed for connection have created a lot of disconnection too. And it's this duality that I find so interesting. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on digital connection and where that fits into the picture of connection.
I think digital connection is like incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people like get on their high horses and are like, this is what's creating havoc in society. This is ruining our children's minds.
Yeah.
This is ruining love. And I get it. There is something obviously very romantic about the good old days, but this is like it comes with pros and cons. And I
Hmm.
do think that the pros outweigh the cons. It's not to say that it's only pros, right?
Hmm.
I will say also, maybe I'm biased. I met my now like long-term partner on Hinge.
Yes.
And I had also met people in person before, like my first like ever serious relationship, I was like his waitress at like a restaurant and his mum asked me out. So like there's something romantic about that story. But
Hmm.
I also just think that you take the tools that you have and if you want to date successfully, you do have to have some kind of digital literacy and you do have to
Hmm.
kind of like lean into it. So I think it's like incredibly valuable to
Yeah.
do maybe a mixture of both, like still go out and like have fun and meet people organically,
Hmm.
but don't discredit like the benefits of dating apps or knowing how to flirt online. Like
Hmm.
it's a skill. I'm sure you've done an episode on that, I hope. But oh my God, it's a skill.
Flirting online. Oh my gosh, I don't think I have. I need to bring that to the flirties ASAP.
You do, because I
I'm
wish that.
jotting that down right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to know. Well, I'm kind of out of that space now, but I'd still need to know, like, how do I do
Yeah.
this?
You hang tight, flirties. And Gemma, it's coming. We're going to revisit this question. I have a follow-up that I think more so ties into the loneliness discussion. But a couple more questions here on connection that came from the flirties. And one is around vulnerability and intimacy and
Hmm.
how that plays into connection. Like I think, um, like say you are meeting someone just organically in person for the first time and you're sort of chit-chatting about the weather, kind of having that small talk conversation. Like, is that connection? I think it possibly, but how you can take it that next level deeper, some strategies to develop more intimacy and vulnerability and connections when maybe that doesn't come easily.
I really like this question. I think it's very difficult. I'm someone who it comes to the table very vulnerable, but there's like a level that like very few people crack.
Mm,
And I feel like that's the case. Like everyone has parts of them that are like reserved for the people that have made it through a few like obstacles, right? They've made
yeah,
a few trial runs.
yeah.
But I do also think that we work and we find the best relationships and the best connections and the best love when we open ourselves up a little bit. And if that doesn't come naturally, that's okay. But I think start out by letting the other person be open with you.
Mm,
So when you are like having a conversation with someone, leave space for them to elaborate on the things that they would like to elaborate on. Ask like follow-up questions and then provide like one of the core principles of connection and of attraction is reciprocity, right?
yes.
So when someone else shows you a deepness to themselves, try and go with them. Try and follow along. And it's not like it's this very mechanical exchange of trauma. It
Mm,
should just feel like a natural, like, climbing up the ladder together. You're on the same rung, you're slowly moving up. So,
mhm.
like, leave space for them to disclose, leave space for them to discuss. I feel like often if you're someone who's quite nervous when it comes to conversing with others, like, you just kind of fill the space with chatter
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're like, oh my God, I'm so anxious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pause and just leave space for the other person to speak their mind because often in those moments is when a lot of a lot is revealed, a lot of beauty is revealed. Another tip for being vulnerable is to really note that the relationship only goes as deep as you're willing to go. So,
Yeah.
and it's not to say that you need to immediately trauma dump to get the
Mhm.
relationship going and like
Mhm.
artificially speed up that closeness.
Mhm.
But if you are like in a serious relationship or you're really getting to know someone and you've hit like a blockade, if you hit this level of like, where do we go from here? Like we're kind of this intimacy feels kind of shallow now.
Yeah.
Think about how open you have been with your heart and how open you've been with your soul and your core and what you're presenting to this other person.
Mm.
It's not to say that it's no one's fault. And I feel like when I ask people to self-reflect, sometimes they're like, well, it's not my fault. No, it's not your fault. It's really not. But I do think that it's a great gift to yourself if you
Mm.
do reflect on what you've been willing to share with someone else and open up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be the case? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your
Yeah.
explanation a lot because I get a lot because I get this question around oversharing. It's like, oh, I feel like I
Mm.
overshared on a first date, or, even on a dating app before you get to a first date. And you feel like maybe it's coming from a place of anxiety. Maybe you're coming from a place of like, oh, like I really want this person to like me. Or maybe you feel like that's been your pattern where you just sort of put it all out there and it's like, well, if they like me, they'll like me.
Mm.
But I'm like, part of intimacy and vulnerability is using yeah, some of that self-reflection to recognize your boundaries and knowing that a lot of this is earned over time. Intimacy and vulnerability is developed. There's no rush to it. You can be patient
Mm-hmm.
and you can start at first talking about some interests or passions or things you
Mm-hmm.
like or foods or what you watch on TV or entertainment. And so you can keep it
Yeah.
really fun and then start to go into some storytelling. Okay, well, a favorite show you had when you were a kid, and maybe that brings up a memory, and then, oh, that relates back to
Mm-hmm.
this or that. So here you go, developing that intimacy and vulnerability. And something that I like from the flirt is seeing also the flirt as an expression or an act of service. I love talking about it like that. Where if you're having some of those anxiety nerves or you're feeling uncomfortable, you're a shy introvert like me, it's so you can ask some questions first and then be genuinely curious and
Yeah. I really like that.
listen and pause and breathe. And I guarantee more often than not, you're going to find a point of connection, which then allows you to go a little bit deeper. And I wanted to, I, okay, I have one more question here about connection as I wanted to give flirties kind of the strategies first, like
Yes.
starting
No,
there.
please.
And
Yeah.
then this question I have now is around some of the challenges that people have making connections with expressing themselves, maybe that you've seen in your work and doing your podcast. Yeah, some of the challenges, even struggles people have making connections.
I think one of the biggest one is sometimes introversion, right?
Mhm.
Feeling like, oh, does making connection require me to be someone that I'm not and to be this
Mm,
loud, outward person who needs to be present all the time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I
yeah,
think people have this misconception that like introversion means that you don't like people. It's like, no, it's just how you get your energy, right? And you
right.
can
Hmm.
still make beautiful friends and be an introvert. I also think one of the other barriers to connection is that like it's just freaking hard to meet new people and to have the
Yeah.
confidence and the time to build a relationship with them. Perhaps that's why our romantic relationships really do take the focus the older we get. because there is a an expectation that you can invest a crap ton of time in someone and have that be fruitful, quote unquote. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
actually, when we take that approach with like friendships as well and like embracing connection and flirting with like within a platonic sense, I actually think that's more rewarding. But it's very, very difficult. I'm going to pop in another study here from Robin Dunbar, very, very famous man who's done a lot on friendship and a lot on relationships.
Hmm.
And he has this really fascinating statistic that I think it takes over 200 hours to call someone a good friend. 200
Wow.
hours, or to call someone like to say, oh, yeah, we're close. It takes like 30 hours to just be like, oh, yeah, like we're friends, we're
Hmm.
friendly. And then in order to get to the point of like being like, oh, no, like I really trust this person is in my life, it's like upwards of 200 or 300 hours in my memory. So I don't know about you, Ben, but I
Hmm.
don't really have a lot of time to invest 300 hours
Oh,
into
no.
anything. Like,
No.
it's very hard. It's very difficult. It's why a lot of people, meet the loves of their lives or like their best friends at work because it's a shared
Yeah.
environment.
Hmm.
So I think that's also a real barrier for connection is time, is sometimes personality as
Hmm.
well, is convenience,
Hmm.
is yeah, all of those things mixed together, and it just feels like we become a lot more lonely the older we get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Segueing and perfectly. You set me up. I
I
caught the
was
ball.
like, I was
As
like, I know where
we
this is going.
transition to talking about loneliness now, is we've really focused on connection. But I also recognize, and this has been true for me, that connection can exist simultaneously along with loneliness too. And so just as yeah, you described connection, how would you describe loneliness?
Oh my gosh. The way I describe loneliness is like you can be lonely in a crowded room. You can be lonely even when you're
Mhm.
surrounded by your closest of friends. It's an emotional state more than it
Mhm.
is a physical one or a social one.
Yeah.
It is an emotional state of feeling perhaps like you are not being seen the way that we feel the need to be seen as humans.
Mhm.
And it's a sense of, I think, emptiness and isolation and solitude, even once again when we are physically not that way, right? Even
Yeah.
if in
Yeah.
like a party of all those that you love. I remember actually, it's just really random tangent, but I remember watching the Amy Winehouse documentary,
Yes.
and she like talks about how she was on stage winning like Grammy of the Year with, and every single person that she loved in the room was there, and she said to a friend like, I'm so lonely or something like that,
Mm.
like I'm so
Wow.
lonely. And I think what it comes down to is feeling like there is a depth missing to your
Yeah.
current relationships,
Yeah.
feeling like there is a level that you're not getting to with people. And it's through no fault of anyone. It's just that sometimes the circumstances create that. And that's one instance. And then I also think that loneliness does also just apply to isolation.
Yeah.
People, especially when I think about like people
Mm.
who've moved to a new city, like just not having people available. But even if you had, amazing long distance friends, you can't communicate in the same way. You don't see each other as much. It's an adjustment. All of it comes down to not feeling seen the way that you want to be seen
Yeah.
and not feeling like there are opportunities for you to kind of fill that void where you are at the present moment.
Yeah. So good. And I think coming full circle for a moment to the digital communication piece of connection, this is where I find it can sometimes create that isolation where you can exist behind your phone screen and it just I've done it so many times where you're scrolling, or you're watching videos, you're on YouTube, or really any platform. It could even be television, right? You're
Mm,
streaming, whatever. Um, and it's like you're busy, you're occupied, you're doing something, you're even interacting, maybe you're playing a game, but then at the
mm,
end of the day, there's another element to connection that I think is cannot be replaced. In-person connection has its true value as well.
mm.
Um, yeah.
100%. Because it's like when you're seeing someone in front of you and you can like really, appreciate like their body movements and their tone and like how they're
Yeah.
responding to you, and you can have a hug and like you
Yeah.
can feel like their energy and their warmth. Like there is a difference. And the people who know this is like if anyone has ever done long distance,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like whenever me and my partner occasionally do long distance when I'm away for like a
Yeah.
couple months at a time. And I'm sorry, but like your relationship should not be getting better when you're doing long distance. Like
Mm.
because
Yeah.
and that's like something I always say. I'm like, if your relationship is improving with long distance, you
Uh-huh.
probably shouldn't be together. Like, or you should
A
at
good
least
point.
readjust, yeah, like how your
I think
relationship functions.
it's a conversation to have. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
perhaps because it's like, you're not having that in-person connection that we all
Right.
deeply, deeply value.
Yeah. And this is something I've really relied on digital communication as an introvert, as a tool for connection, but I've had to really see it as a tool and not have it be this thing that can isolate me or have me withdraw, which I've definitely used
Hmm.
it in that way in the past. All right, I want to ask you this question now from a flirty, and it is, what are some of the daily short-term strategies that someone could use for managing loneliness?
I really, I think that you should remember that loneliness is much like hunger or
Mm,
thirst. It's just telling you that there is a need that you need to fulfill. That's basically it.
okay.
So don't be scared. Don't be scared of loneliness. Don't feel like it's unnatural to feel lonely, that it's bad to feel lonely. Don't suppress the feeling. I think really embrace it and be like, okay, I'm feeling lonely. Let's have a look at my life right now and think about why. When was the last time that I really had a really good phone call with a friend? When was the
Mm,
last time that I had people over for dinner, organized something? When was the last time I went on a really, really good date? Am I feeling lonely because I'm feeling hopeless about my romantic future? And
yeah,
maybe I need to take a step back from dating because it's just been like loss after loss, or, I just felt like I'm just hitting a wall.
yeah,
There is often a root cause of loneliness that comes down to something in our life that just feels a little bit unbalanced. The same way
yeah.
as, we're not drinking enough water, we're not eating enough food, we're not sleeping enough. Like, are we not connecting enough? So that would be my biggest tip for loneliness. And my second tip would be become the initiator.
Mm,
Sometimes I think we have this natural fear of putting ourselves out there and being like, do you want to be my friend? Like we're kids, or like, do you want to like go on a date with me? It's like, it's so nerve-wracking because you put yourself in a position to be rejected.
mm,
But the thing is, it's like, who cares? Rejection is like, honestly, the one for me, it's like, great, I was rejected. Like, okay. It's
yeah,
just like, it's almost like it has no emotional connotations for me.
right.
I, it's like you get rejected from jobs, you get rejected from partners, you're gonna get rejected like a million times in your life. You may as well start using that rejection for you instead of being scared of it, right? So being
Hmm.
like, okay, well, I'm so okay with being rejected that yeah, I'm going to go and ask this person if they want to have a beer with me, or if they want to go on a date with me, or like if they want to connect, or if they want to jump on a call with me. Use rejection as your superpower. Your lack of fear of rejection can really
Hmm.
transform your life. And then finally, I would say for dealing with loneliness, please don't look at anyone else's life and think that
Yeah.
you are the only one. And I
Mm,
say this from personal experience because I remember catching up with someone who I hadn't caught up with for a while, just recently, actually, probably in the last 2 months. And he was like, God, you just look so happy. Your life looks so great. You have so many friends. And I was like, I don't feel that way. I feel quite lonely at times. I live by myself. Well, my partner lives here, but he travels a lot, and like,
hmm.
and I work for myself. Like, you're not, you have no idea what is going on in someone's life. And the quote I always say is like, yes, someone else's grass might look greener, but it might also be turf. Like, it might
Yes,
also not
yes.
be real.
Hmm.
So,
Mm. I think those are going to be really, really helpful tips. Thank you for those. I know for me, it's like the hard part is it's like this feeling of loneliness is like you just mentioned, it can be very physical. Like it can oftentimes be this aching that you feel. And I know for me, it's like the word that's been coming to mind a lot recently is acknowledgement. And when I'm feeling lonely, it's I just want to be acknowledged in some way for the efforts I'm putting forth,
Mm.
for how hard I'm working, for
Yeah.
just who I am. And so looking for that acknowledgement, I've really had to catch myself from chasing it and seeking it externally, which
Yes.
I know we go to. I have countless times, and I will countless times more. But when I'm really
Yeah.
looking for that acknowledgement, it might be calling a friend, a family member. If you have a pet, like I'll pet my cat, setting up with
Oh.
like a comfort show or cooking myself for me, like doing something for me just to bring some of that acknowledgement. Like you're doing a good job. This
Mm-hmm.
won't last forever. Something that
Mm-hmm.
has helped me recently. I really just have, this has been such an amazing conversation. I just have
I'm so glad.
one more question for you. I like to ask in every episode, I try to get it in there about rejection. We spoke to it a moment ago. So yeah, this final question will be from a flirty who is saying that they are isolating a lot to avoid
Yeah.
rejection because they have this fear of rejection. And in turn, right, that self-isolation is leading to some loneliness and lack of connection.
Yeah.
So to the person that is, to the flirty listening that is fearful of rejection, some words of wisdom for them.
Okay. I think I spoke on this a little bit more, but I just think
Yes.
that you need to provide yourself with exposure to
Yeah.
rejection. So I do get the human inclination to withdraw. I definitely do it, to hermit, to pull back, but I want you to recognize that what you're actually doing is avoidance. And I sometimes compare it to avoiding going to the doctor, right? You're in the moment, really, you feel less stressed because you're not doing the thing that's really, really stressful. If that's for you going to the doctor, if that's for you being
Yeah.
rejected. But in the long term, actually, all you're doing is continuing to bolster the fear, to continuing to make the behavior or the action more scary and
Yeah.
missing out on something that's probably really going to help you going to the doctor, being connected to other people. So I want you to provide almost like an exposure hierarchy to rejection. Make yourself a list from 0 to 100, 100 being the most scary, zero being something you could do tomorrow,
Hmm.
all of examples or situations that relate to rejection. So 100 might be going up to someone in a club and asking them for their number
Hmm.
or something like that. Zero
Okay.
might be asking for your receipt at the grocery store and maybe they say that they can't do it, right? Like begin to expose yourself to possibilities of rejection and start to see that, yes, sometimes that might happen, but actually you're going to be totally okay and you're going to be
Yeah.
totally fine. And actually, sometimes it won't happen and you'll be really happy and really surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And that sometimes rejection can be sexy. It can be. It
Mm,
means you took a risk, you put yourself out there. It's redirection, it's clarity, it's all the things. But speaking to that, the fear and specifically the avoidance, I don't think I've heard that before. That was going to be really helpful for me. I like that a
mm.
lot. My goodness, these conversations, I have so much fun with them. Thank you so much, Gemma, for being on the show today. The only other thing I have to ask you is where the flirties can find you, follow along, listen to your podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Ben. Well, if you want to listen to our episode that we did on my show,
Yeah.
you can go and check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening right now. The Psychology of Your 20s is it. We also have like a catalog of any single thing that you think you want to know about your brain, about not even just your 20s, but about the human experience. You can find it by searching for an episode, searching for a subject, or DMing me on Instagram at that psychology podcast, and I will send you in the right direction. And Ben, thank you again for having me on. I really love chatting with you. I feel like hopefully the flirties realize how infectious your energy is through their speakers. Like it's
Oh,
amazing.
Jemma
It's
Sbeg,
great.
thank you so, so much for being a part of the show today and the flirt community.